howdy do Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And this is episode 312.
Oh, yes.
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back. Until then, there must be no regrets, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing. Nobody in the universe can do what we're doing.
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
You may be a doctor, but I'm the doctor. The definite article, you might say.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear, and it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
I am the Doctor!
For now, for this moment, I am the Doctor again.
The ground beneath our feet is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and the entire planet is hurtling around the sun at 67,000 miles an hour, and I can feel it. We're falling through space, you and me.
People assume that time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
I could be a curator. I'd be great at curating. I'd be the great curator. I could retire and do that.
I'm the Doctor. I've lived for over 2,000 years, and not all of them were good. I've made many mistakes. It's about time that I did something about that.
Bit of adrenaline, dash of outrage, and a hint of panic knitted my brain back together. I know exactly who I am. I'm the Doctor. Sorting out fair play throughout the universe.
Hey, Doctor Who fans.
Getting into the theme there.
Indeed, yeah. Welcome back.
To hear that again.
Welcome back, everybody. We are back behind the microphones for another episode. We've had a few weeks off, dude. It's been nice.
Indeed, yes, it has. Yeah, I feel recharged, refreshed, full of energy.
Yeah, nice. It has been cool, actually, having a bit of a break, I must admit.
Yeah.
One of our buddies over on Sirens of Audio, a podcast, they were doing a roundup of Doctor Who podcasts, and some of the, I think there's about half a dozen, and we were listed in there, which is very nice of them. One of the things that they commented on about our show was the consistency. They were like, these guys have been...
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, in a good way. They were like, these guys...
No, I just think because now we've gone and broken the rule.
They've since 2014... they've pretty much religiously put out an episode every week. We've had the odd break, haven't we? So every year, we normally have a week off for Christmas and New Year. And we normally have a couple of weeks off over summer, usually. Other than that, we're fairly consistent and stuff. But it was ironic because I tweeted them back and said, thank you very much for the kind words and stuff. Ironically, we're actually on a bit of an extended break at the minute. So yes, while we are consistent most of the year round, we've had a bit of a break. But dude, it's been really nice to and it's probably a good time that we did it anyway, because just this year in general it's been very quiet. But at the moment, dude, it's like literally it's like a western. The tumbleweed is just is really bad. But so we have had a bit of a break, which has been nice, but we're back now. So how have you been doing, buddy? I know you've had a little bit of sun and now you're back home and stuff. You all good?
Yes, I'm very good, thanks. Yeah. I've been on the travels for a little bit. Obviously, it's quite restricted at the minute. I did listen to the Round Table podcast while on a 4-hour coach journey, and I loved it. It's really good. We need to get those guys back on the writing team. I was just saying to you before we started recording, there were so many moments where I was wishing I was there. Like there were things I wanted to say. Like I was thinking, if I was there now, I'd be saying this and I'll be chipping in here and stuff. It's really good podcast. But yeah, and I've been really good. Just very briefly, you may remember that I was gutted that I didn't get a ticket to the BFI Dragonfire event, and right at the last second, right at the last 11th hour, I managed to get one. And obviously I'd recently back from traveling and stuff, and so I was able to go. And it was so worth it. It was brilliant. It was such a good day. As you can imagine, the actual theatre itself was quite empty because they space out everybody now. Of course, it's still being very social distance wary of stuff like that. So there weren't many people actually there watching it. It's probably 100 and so. Not many of us in there, but there was still a good atmosphere, but not quite the sort of buzz that we normally have with the place when it's full. Great to see on the big screen. Got to see some of snippets from the new extras, which, as you can imagine, look brilliant. The surprise one for me was there's an interview with Patricia Quinn on the new Blu-ray set, and I don't know much about her. Let's just say we're in for a real treat. They showed us about 5 minutes of this. I didn't realise what a character she is, and let's just say a little bit off the wall. I don't want to be like, I don't want to say anything nasty because she seems really lovely, but very eccentric, maybe. I don't know. It just looks like it's going to be a really fun interview. So got to see a bit of that. We got to see a bit of the McCoy interview, Matthew Sweet, which again looks like a great interview. A bit of the round table. Just everything they showed us was full of fun and laughter from the new extras from the forthcoming season 24 set. And I know a lot of people consider that to be, not one of their favourite seasons, if you like. As you know, we both love it, don't we? We don't care that it's campus Christmas. We don't care that there's no budget, that McCoy's still finding his feet as the Doctor. It's just a fun season. And I think it's going to be a great set. The extras just look unbelievable. I think they said they've done like 25 hours of new material or something crazy like that. It is absolutely jam-packed with new stuff. And obviously after the screening, we all went out and got drunk on the South Bank, and there was just so many Doctor Who fans there and so many faces, familiar faces, people that we always meet up, me and you, when we go, people that I talked to on Twitter that I've never met before that come up and said hi. It was the atmosphere was incredible, dude. Afterwards, like just the meet up and everybody talking about Doctor Who, and you had, fans from different eras as well. Everyone just getting on, just the absolute opposite of Twitter. There was no sort of, because there were people there that loved Jodie, and there were people there that loved the third Doctor. There was no sort of divide. It wasn't like the Jodie supporters on the left and the classic Who fans. Mm. Everybody was just having fun in the sunshine, drinking, chatting. It was such a good day. I absolutely loved it. So, I mean, that's the only Who thing I've done pretty much since I got back, because I haven't been back that long. So that was good. But, yeah. What about you? What have you been up to?
Yeah, nice one, dude.
While I've been away. What have you been doing with yourself while I've been away?
Yeah, what mischief have I got up to without you being here? Yeah. No, very little, dude. When I say I've taken a break from Doctor Who, that's literally everything, really. It's not just the podcast. I've not watched, or I've purposely not watched, because normally, as our listeners will know, I will watch some kind of Doctor Who or whatever in between shows. But now I've just taken a few weeks to watch other stuff. I mean, I watch other stuff anyway, but yeah, just step back and not done anything Doctor Who. And I say this with respect. It's been really nice to not... I mean, I've listened to a couple of other Doctor Who podcasts, but that's about it. I've not watched any Doctor Who.
Have you had time to see, they released a little trailer for the new Web of Fear Blu-ray. Have you had a look at that yet? Because that's got quite a bad reaction.
Yeah, I did see it. Twitter. Yeah. I mean, that's the only good thing that the official YouTube channel's good for these days, is the trailers for anything new, because they keep putting these weird little. I mean, bless them, they are scraping the barrel. Whoever's running the official YouTube channel, they are scraping the barrel, because they keep putting these things out like Donna's top 5 quotes, or just stuff. Just really trying to cobble together anything. So I did see that, and. Yeah, I don't think it looks too bad. I mean, I think people were just saying that the animation just looks really crusty and not very good at all. But I don't think it's I don't think it's the best that they've done, but it doesn't look terrible.
No, I was going to say it's not. I don't know. It's not brilliant, but I don't get that. It's not that the hate that it's got, I think, is a little bit extreme. It's not that bad, but I mean, it is a bit. I mean, it's better than watching the telesnaps, surely.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I always struggle with telesnaps. So it's got to be better than that. But the new covers look good, don't they? Are you going to be? Is this double dipping or is this treble dipping now? How many times has this been out? Are you going to be getting the new version when it comes out? Because the cover by Lee Binding, absolutely stunning. Probably worth buying for that cover alone.
It's gorgeous,
but, are you going to be grabbing this, or are you just going to stick with the one you got?
No, I will grab it, but not when it comes out. I'll wait until it's cheaper.
Wait till it's cheaper.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Indeed, but it's a lovely cover though. I think I like the cover more than the animation, but it's not terrible. Yeah.
I'm not over blown away with the steelbook cover, but I like it. It may probably look really nice in hand, I think. But the problem is when you put the steelbook next to the regular Blu-ray cover, it just blows it out of the water, doesn't it? And but I think they both look nice, I think, in hand.
I think so.
Yeah, so I'll probably be getting that.
Yeah, yes, I will get that at some point, but I'm not going to pay full bifter for it when it comes out because I've already got it. It's already. If this was a brand new release, it not been out before, I probably would. But yeah, talking of events, too, just really quick. You see that Showmasters have cancelled the July LFCC and they've pushed it back to to November. That was so funny. It was we had said, didn't we, for a while, we were like, are we going to go to this in July? Probably not. It seems a bit too early.
I kept sort of thinking about it because I thought it's coming up. We're nearly in, we'll be in July soon. Should I get tickets? And then Saturday sold out, which kind of almost pressured me into a knee-jerk reaction of buying Sunday, because I thought, oh no, Saturday sold out. Oh, I really want to meet Sasha and Joe Martin. I don't want to miss out on those guys. Shall I get a Sunday one and then get the photo shoots nearer the time? What shall I do? So I was still waiting, because the thing I don't like is that if you buy any tickets or if you buy photo shoots and stuff, your money to get your money back if they postpone, or even if you cancel it, it's really difficult, because I think because they postpone it rather than cancel, you don't get your money. They just give you a voucher and say, So I thought I don't want to be tying up money that I haven't really got in something if it's going to get postponed, and I'm pretty sure it's going to get postponed. So I was leaving it right to the last second to get it, and of course it then got postponed. It was no shock, really, was it? And it was almost immediately after Boris's announcement as well. Like they had the sort of write up ready to go, didn't they? It's like, right, Boris has confirmed it, press send, and they announced it as postponed straight away. So yeah, no shock really, dude, is it? It's no shock.
No, not at all, man. And there were so many people as well that were. So if it was at the XL, like the MCM events, then I probably would have booked a ticket, because I might be able, whatever I'm doing on that weekend, I might have been able to have got back for the Sunday.
Yeah.
If it was at the XL, but dude, the venue that they do it at, the Olympia, is it the Olympia or the Olympia 2, whatever it's called?
Yeah.
It's just freaking awful. It's
no chance.
It's awful. It's really bad. So can you imagine that on a hot summer's day?
Oh, I think
fresh out,
it's like it's been the last few days. You'd be sweltering.
Can you imagine?
Horrible.
Face masks as well. No aircon. Fresh out of lockdown. No way, mate.
Well, I kept thinking about the photo shoots as well, like because for me, I'm more of a sort of photo shoot person than queuing for autographs. I love to get the photo at the end of the day. So I was thinking, how are they going to do that? Because if you're still having to distance and stuff, are you going to be at the other end of it? I just couldn't see how it's going to work. And that was the other thing that was just kind of holding me back from booking anything. I just couldn't see how any of it was going to work, really.
Yeah, bloody Showmasters, man. I mean, fair play to them in a way, because over the years they've really expanded that show. I mean, remember when we went back in 2015? I think the first time that you and I went together, maybe 2015. Yeah. And I think it was like a $5 to get in. And there wasn't this huge, massive circus that it is now. You didn't have to pre-book. You just paid your money on the door, walked in, and that was it. It was fairly cool. But fair play that they've scaled it up now, and it's this massive thing, and they've got really good guests and everything. But on the other hand, they do seem a bit money-orientated now instead of people-orientated. It's a bit like, because even last year, during the big lockdowny periods that we had, they still refused to postpone the events right up until the last second. It was like, dudes, this is clearly not going to happen. Why are you still allowing people to book tickets like 24 hours previous to you postpone everything? It was terrible. So that's the only thing I'm not too keen on with. Like MCM, those guys are pretty cool. Really early on, they're like, look, it's probably not going to happen. Let's just postpone it now. Get your plans sorted. We're not going to dick you around. And so they postponed all of their stuff until October and November. Whereas Showmaster's like, no. Everything's going to be awesome. Don't worry. It's like, Don't
Keep
worry.
giving us your money.
Yeah, keep the money rolling in. You know, everything's
look after that for you in our Showmasters bank. Actually, they've rescheduled it at the same time, so the rescheduled date actually clashes with one of the other big events. Is it MCM or?
It is the MCM one. Yeah.
Yep. So it's clashing with that. So all those people that have bought tickets for that are now saying, "Well, I want my money back because I can't go to both." But of course, they can't get it. They're just offered a voucher. That's what I mean. I think you just have to be really careful with these events. I mean, the thing is, we're living in different times. You know, like you said, back in simpler times, great. We'd rock up £6.50 to get in, get a couple of autos. Great, happy days. But we live in different times, and I'd just say to anyone thinking of going to any of these events, just be a little bit cautious because it is. It's not as simple as it used to be.
No,
it really isn't. Yeah,
and it should be obviously much better in November because I've had my first jab. You've had your first jab.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully, the majority of the people, even under 40 or 35 now, whatever, by the time we get to November, should all be double jabbed and should be a lot smoother. I just can't understand why they thought it would be a good idea in July. I don't know, but Showmasters, mate. Yep.
Showmasters for you. Dude, just before we crack on, I just wanted to say, you talk about the YouTube channel, Doctor YouTube channel just now, and how they're probably really struggling for content. And Doctor Who magazine have been getting a lot of flack for not having Jodie on the cover, and they keep saying, well, look, we can't get anything out of the BBC. We literally have nothing to put. We haven't even got any new photos. It is bizarre. What is going on with the marketing team? Now, I know Chibbers wants to keep everything under wraps. Fair play. But surely part of your wanting to make your show a success is to sort of plan and think, well, we need to do some photo shoots so we can hand out some publicity photos, even if they're nothing to do with the episodes. We want some shots of Jodie by the TARDIS or something we can give to magazines when they want to feature. Surely this is part of your, promotional process. I just find it really bizarre that, Doctor Who magazine, the YouTube channels, Twitter, the official Doctor Who Twitter have got no new photos or anything that they can share to keep the momentum going, especially with these huge long gaps we're getting between series. And the reason I mention this is, of course, there's been a huge fuss because the cover of the Doctor Who 2022 annual was released the other day. And, of course, everyone's like, where's Jodie? She's not on the cover. What's going, the BBC hate her and all this. And I'm thinking, I genuinely, and I mean, I could be wrong, but I genuinely think it's just because they probably don't have any new images that they're allowed to use. And there's probably other reasons. I'm sure there's lots of reasons behind it. But what is going on with Chibbers? Why is it Chibbers? Whoever? Why are they not giving out stuff to promote the show? It doesn't have to be spoilers. It could just people go crazy if a slightly different version of Jodie crouching down with the Sonic is released. I mean, it only has to be a slightly different photo to get people excited. But I just don't get it. Why everything is so secretive at the minute?
Yeah.
There must be a reason for it.
Well, first of all, dude, I can't believe this hoo-ha over the annual. Honest to God. I mean, the one book that nobody ever bloody talks about. Right? When you have the new books that come out from Penguin or BBC Books, whatever, they get a little bit of anticipation. The guys, they did a pretty good job of marketing and stuff. Mm-hmm. We tend to get review books in and, it's all good. They handle that pretty well. Nobody ever talks about the annual. The only time you ever see any tweets about the annual is Christmas Day morning, where a family member knows that you like Doctor Who, have no idea what to get you. They've seen the annual in WH Smith for £2. There you go. Happy Christmas. Happy Doctor Who Crimbo. There you go. So nobody ever talks about it. But this one time where they decide to go in a different direction, whether they had any pictures of Jodie or not, they decide to go in a different direction and not include the Doctor on the front. The entire world is now all about the annual. The annual this and the annual that. It's like, you never bloody read it, mate.
You never buy it. They obviously
Just
don't
shut
buy
up.
it because I don't remember ever the last annual. I don't even remember seeing it in my local Smiths, and that's really unusual. Smiths always used to get the Doctor Who annual. And I never, and believe me, I went to a couple of Smiths as well. I never found it in any Smiths last year, which I thought was really odd because you saw all the other annuals, and I kept thinking, oh, they're probably just waiting to get stock in, and I'd go in and see, and never saw it. I think I ended up getting it off Amazon for like £3 or something in the end, you know. Because I always buy the Doctor Who annuals, and I have to say the last couple have been rubbish. They've been like about 10 pages thick, and I only literally buy them because I'm just a mug who likes to be a completist. You know, I like to have them all. But yeah, they've been pretty poor the last couple of years. But it's a nice cover. That's the thing. Somebody said it looks like it should be the back of the annual, which I understand. It does look like, because it's quite simple, isn't it? It's just a picture of the TARDIS with some rainbow colours around it. It looks quite nice, but I agree, it does look more like the back of the annual than the front. But
it's ridiculous, mate. Just everyone that's moaning about it, just shut up. If you end up buying it, which I doubt most of the people complaining about it would buy it anyway, it's just an excuse. All it is just one of those little things that people use and as an excuse to bash Doctor Who and Jodie and Chibbers and all the rest of it. It's just a mechanism that they can use to jump on Twitter and just start having a good old rant because they're not a fan of the show at the minute anyway, and all that stuff. It's just ridiculous. Just ignore it all. If you want to buy the annual, buy the freaking annual. If you don't like it because Jodie's not on it, don't buy it. It really is as easy and as black and white as that. It's just ridiculous, buddy. It's just freaking the fandom as we know it these days. It's ridiculous.
It is, mate. It's another, it's the bad side of the fandom.
Exactly, yeah. And where it concerns the BBC not putting out any publicity or anything like that, I think that's just a natural progression of the ratings being down and not a huge amount of people liking the show. Like back in the day, I know that listeners are going to be like, oh yeah, you're banging on about, the Russell era again. But back in the day, you almost had that safety net with the Russell era because you knew that the next series coming up was going to be brilliant. So if they didn't put out any publicity shots, it was okay because it was like, oh, they're going to build the suspense. We know it's going to be good. But nowadays, it's like, it's probably going to be bad, isn't it? I mean, I'm not saying that. It's just the feeling in fandom. It's like, it's probably going to be bad. So we need something to get us in the mood and excite us so that we can look forward to it. So unfortunately, it's just a casualty of, Chibbers probably thinks he's doing the right thing, but in reality, it's like you need to engage a bit more with the fandom.
Give a few breadcrumbs. Yeah. Come on, Chibbs. You need to give a few breadcrumbs. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on this, mate. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the 13th Doctor, as you know. I'm not the biggest fan of Jodie as the Doctor, but I do agree with a lot of people that are saying, that the BBC do seem to have sort of lost faith in her a bit, and the whole pairing of the 10th Doctor with her all the time, and a lot of the books and annuals and that not having her image. We could talk about it forever. There definitely does seem to be a lack of confidence there, but I don't know. I don't think it's like you said. I don't think it's as black and white as that. I think there are reasons for what's been going on, but we could do a whole other podcast on this.
We could, dude. Yeah.
And then we'd be back to our 3.5 hour, 4 hour podcast, which we're trying to get away from. Yeah.
On that note, then, we have got a couple of bits of news to get through. So let's crack on. First up then, as you would expect at the moment, the only sort of big stories doing the rounds are the whole Jodie Whittaker leaving thing and, all that. But there is one interesting thing that's picked up traction over the last few days, and a few newspapers and blogs have picked up on it. And that is, although it's fairly obvious that Jodie is on the way out, although she could surprise us, she could drop a bit of a surprise bomb, be like, series 14 is mine as well. But anyway, I think it's kind of well known that she is, although the BBC have not officially confirmed it, as we know, that she's going to be leaving. But there have been a few new rumours circulating that it might not be when we expected her to go. So we all thought, quite sensibly, that when she decided to, that's enough is enough, that they would do some kind of regeneration story, probably at the end of the festive special. So Series 13, which we know is only 8 episodes long, would arrive towards the end of the year. Then that would be followed up by, I'm guessing it's going to be a New Year special again. That would be a regen story. And then next year, we'd have a new Doctor, Series 14 onwards. That's what you'd expect. But these rumours are suggesting that Jodie's going to be around for a couple of specials next year before she leaves. So what they're saying is there's two kind of things that I've seen from various articles. The first one is that we'll have series 13 as normal this year, 8 episodes. Then we'd have a festive special. And then next year we would have 2 specials. One at some point, Easter, maybe summer. And then the second one again at Christmas or New Year. Then she would regenerate, and that's Jodie done. She'd be gone. The other thing, rumour that I've seen is that we won't have a Christmas or festive special this year. We'll just have series 13, and then that special that we would have had at New Year, that will just be part of the 2 specials we're going to get next year. So they'll do it that way. Either way, this rumour suggests that, yes, Jodie might be going, or she probably is going, but not at the timeline that we predicted that it would be, not follow the normal format. So, where do you sit on this one, dude? Because when I first read it, I was like, that's going to be weird, because does that mean that in 2022, we're only going to have 2 episodes of Doctor Who? And then in 2023, it's all going to go mad because it's the 60th, and would Jodie stick around even? She might do those 2 specials, leave it on a cliffhanger. Then she comes back for one more episode for 2023 for the 60th, involve some other doctors, some other people, and then that's a springboard into a new era, with a new doctor and stuff. So what do you reckon on this one, dude?
I mean, I can see this happening. I can totally see this happening. But I think it's just a mess. This whole thing just feels like a mess to me, mate. The big gaps in between series. I mean, I know I said I'm not Jodie's biggest fan, but I kind of feel sorry for her because she's come into this role, and I'm sure this can't have been the plan to have all these massive gaps. And she probably just wants to get on and film the series and read the scripts and all this sort of stopping and starting. And I know COVID's played a part in it, but I just think the whole thing is so messy, and it's really hard. We were just talking about keeping the enthusiasm going, weren't we? It's really hard to sort of keep people invested, apart from really hardcore fans. If you're going to have these massive gaps between series, and then you expect people to sort of, wait out for 2 specials where she's going to regenerate 2 episodes in a year, and then we're in the 60th. So do we have a new doctor coming in and who's going to try and sort of, make their impact, around the 60th? Are they going to get a series? The whole thing just seems really messy to me. I don't get it, but I can genuinely see this happening. So I think this is what's going to happen. So we'll see how it plays out, but I don't know. It's just so hard to keep your enthusiasm up reading stuff like this. I kind of just feel like, I'm kind of bored of Jodie's Doctor. I kind of think it'd be best if she just left and we got a new one for a couple of years, and then we're into the 60th. All this sort of she's doing another 6 episodes, then another 2 episodes next year. It just feels like, oh, is that it? Mm-hmm. Just give us something fresh. It's all starting to feel really stale. And sorry, I'm sounding a bit downbeat, aren't I? I've got to be honest. It's just all getting a bit hard work, really, to keep invested in stuff like this.
No, I read you, dude. I read you.
Yeah. Sorry to be on a downer. It's just the way I feel.
Dude, no.
I just want Doctor on the telly, and I just want to enjoy it, and I just want to be looking forward to it. I don't want to be thinking, oh, well, those 6 episodes are done, and we've got 2 episodes next year, and it's just like, what?
We just want good Doctor Who back on the telly. Is that too much to ask, BBC?
Is that too much to ask?
Right, I can kind of see this happening, but unfortunately, the way that the BBC is handling the Doctor Who, and Chibbers, the way he handles it at the minute, it's going to be wrapped up in a sort of. So when David Tennant was leaving, he did his final series, but then we had a series of specials afterwards. So it's not unlike them to do that. The difference is that was properly planned, that was going to happen, and not by accident. It wasn't a case of, shall we do another series? Shall we do series 5 with David Tennant, and then he regens at the end, or shall he regen at the end of 4? They actually properly planned to do 4 specials. That was not an accident. This feels like series 13 was a bugger to do, and filming's still not 100%, where it needs to be in terms of working around COVID and things like that. So shall we just make life easy for ourselves and just do a couple of specials? Because they're still filming right now. Even though Series 13 is supposedly done, I don't know whether they're doing pickups or reshoots, I'm not sure, but they are still filming now. That suggests to me that they're working on post-production for Series 13, and these are what's going to happen next year. So I can see this happening, and if that's the case, then we're in for another really quiet year next year, aren't we? So, because even this year is going to be quiet because they've trimmed, what is it, normally 10 episodes plus a special down to 8. And if they shift the special to next year to make it part of these 2, if the rumours are true, then it is going to be very quiet still.
Yes, it's 8 episodes. I don't know why I was thinking it was 6. I'll tell you why I thought that, because I'd heard we don't do rumours on the show, but I'd heard a rumour that they were going to cut it even further, but that doesn't seem to have come true. So let's hope we get 8 episodes at least. Yeah, yeah. But no, I heard that it'd gone down to 6 because of a certain person being axed from the show. But I don't know. That's probably not true. Hopefully,
no, I don't think so. No. So there we go. We will keep you guys updated when we hear more on this or if it's confirmed. But yeah, potentially, dude, no Series 14 next year. Jodie sticking around for 2 specials, and then it might pick up the year after for the 60th. Who knows? But
there is nothing about that news that I like. But anyway, moving on. That's all I've got to say to that. Right, moving on to very sad news, actually, I'm afraid. Damaris Hayman passed away at the age of 91 just the other week. And she was a great actress with a really, really long list of credits to her career. She was in loads of things over the years. Crossroads, Steptoe and Son, Z-Cars, of course.
Of course.
One Foot in the Grave, Morecambe Wise. But, of course, she'll be best remembered as being in The Damons, that's a Doctor story. And I have to say, I found this really moving when I saw Damaris had passed away, because I went to a day out in Oldbourne where they filmed it, called A Weekend at Devil's End, and she was there. Yeah, and they had Katie Manning was there, and John Levine, and obviously Damaris. And I just remember she was quite frail, but she was still so full of enthusiasm, and she spoke so you could just tell that she absolutely loved this part of playing Miss Hawthorne in The Damons. And it's just lovely to see her and Katie and everything. So it's very sad news, and but as I said, great legacy of TV behind her, and a lovely, lovely person as well. Just such a nice lady. So yeah, Damaris Hayman, 91.
Yeah, it's sad, dude. Yeah, and she was a cool character in The Demons as well.
It's a great story, yeah.
And she had her own spin-off, didn't she? Koch Media put out The White Witch of Devil's End. And that wasn't too bad, actually. You can tell that even with that, she was still really into her character. She's still...
Is that worth a watch? I've never seen it, actually.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Yeah. And she's very good in it, though. I think the whole thing is around... if she wasn't in it, then it would have just been not great at all. But, it's a good one. That was 2017, and she was... she was knocking on a bit then still, but she was, like you said, she was still full of sort of life and enthusiasm about Doctor Who and the character and stuff. So,
I was going to say what I took away from that day when I saw her was that she just, certain actors that have had these sort of, parts that they've maybe only been in 1 or 2 stories or whatever, but they've just got so much love for the show and the fans. That's just what I can picture when she was talking to us, that she just loved engaging with everyone there and telling them about her experiences, making the story. And you're thinking, gosh, this was, this is one role, how many years ago in her life? And she's still just lit up when she was talking about it. So, yeah. Lovely, lovely lady.
Yes, indeedy. Yep. So that's all the news that we have for you guys today. We're going to crack on with our reviews. But before we do that, remember to follow and subscribe to our show. Listen for free, basically, on whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on. You'll find us on there. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box Podcast. You'll see us on there. Or we have a link to those things over on the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. And if you've got a second, if you like our show, you can leave a review, things like Apple Podcasts, or if you head over to the podcast sort of directory website, Podchaser, you can leave a review there as well. If you've got just 1 minute spare to do that, that would be awesome, because that helps us out loads and loads. And thank you so much to our current reviewers over on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser. You guys you say such lovely things. It's really, really nice to hear. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that. You guys are awesome for that. We are on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Again, links on the website, or just do a search for us. And we have a free Discord server as well. There's a link to that on the website. It takes like 30 seconds to sign up to that. Really cool community over there. Come and hang out and chat Doctor Who over there. Also, check out all of the really awesome reviews and articles over on our website from our writing team. Maria, Jordan and Mark. Some really cool stuff over there. Jordan just launched his Doctor Who Series 6 pitch. So these are really cool articles. Basically, Jordan puts himself in the chair of showrunner and what he would do with a series of Doctor Who. They're really, really cool. And then we had Mark drop in his review of Big Finish Out of Time 2. And then we had Maria doing her recap 25 years on from the Doctor Who movie. So some really, really cool stuff over there. And lastly, remember to check out my co-host channel over on YouTube. It is, in fact, The Geek's Handbag.
Yeah. I'm just working on a new video at the moment, actually, in the sweltering heat. Did about 20 takes the other day, because I was like, yeah. Anyway, yeah, go and check out my YouTube channel. Should be some new vids coming soon.
Indeedy. Yes, and Adam is on the socials under the same name, The Geek's Handbag. Go and check him out. And we can all talk about Doctor Who in a nice, friendly environment. Indeedy, because we don't put up with any nonsense. Basically, right, let's crack on with our review. What have we got this week, dude?
Yeah, so it's back to the glory years. No, sorry, I jest. Well, it is. It's back to the David Tennant era with the two-parter. The last, was it? The Sound of the Drums, Last of the Time Lords.
Let the work of government begin.
Pieces of the earth, we bring great gifts.
Sweet.
Doctor, what do we do?
Better start running.
He's got control of everything.
Run for your life!
It's as if he's mesmerised the entire world.
And these are my friends.
Arthur! Get out of here! Take aim! Fire!
Tomorrow, we take our place in the universe. Once the Empire is established, and there's a new Gallifrey in the heavens, maybe then it stops. Ever since I was a child, I looked into the vortex. That's when it chose me. The drumming, the call to war.
Can't you hear it?
Martha Jones is there. She's going to save the world. A bit late for that.
Oh my God. I'll get him, even if it kills me.
Received and understood, Miss Jones. Once the Empire is established, and there's a new...
Nice trailer, that one.
Yeah, good trailer. Another good trailer.
Another good one. Yeah. Right then, so the Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords. So the first part of this obviously the two-part finale to Series 3. The first part went out on the 23rd of June, and then the second part went out a week later on the 30th of June. It was written by Russell T Davies, both of them directed by Colin Teague, although Graham Harper apparently did some directorial stuff on the Last of the Time Lords. It stars David Tennant, obviously, as the Doctor from this era. It stars Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones, John Barrowman as Captain Jack, John Sim as the Master, and then a fairly healthy list of supporting cast actors as well. And the synopsis for these ones are very cool. So the 10th Doctor, Martha Jones and Jack Harkness, return to present-day London, horrified to discover that Prime Minister Harold Saxon is, in fact, the Master. Saxon, quote-unquote, informs the world about receiving contact from an alien race called the Toclophane. Framed as fugitives, the Doctor, Martha and Jack try to sneak in and stop the Master before he unleashes a wave of terror. But his dark ambitions reach far beyond the stars. And then the next part is 1 year later. The Master and the Toclophane are rulers of Earth, which is torn apart by a year of hell. The 10th Doctor has been aged by 900 years, and Jack Harkness and the Jones family have been reduced to slavery on the Master's ship, the Valiant. The only hope for everyone on Earth is Martha Jones, now a legend amongst humanity. As the Master prepares to turn the Earth into a giant warship that will ultimately engulf the rest of the universe, Martha must trek through dangerous territory to destroy him. But tragedy awaits her, the Doctor and her family, on the day that will pit humanity against the stars. So all epic stuff here, dude. All big epic Doctor Who stuff. So what are your thoughts on this two-parter then?
Yeah, it is big epic stuff, isn't it? It feels really, it feels like throwing lots of stuff in there. Yeah, I really like it. I love Utopia, the story before it, and I guess you could say this is sort of a three-part, sort of the first part to this double episode, if you like, and we've reviewed Utopia, and I think we both agreed the cliffhanger to that is phenomenal. Like watching that back in the day, I was like, how on earth are they going to pick this up next week? And they kind of do. It's kind of a quick resolution. I remember the first time I watched this being a bit disappointed, actually, how quickly they resolve that cliffhanger in The Sound of the Drums. But watching it again yesterday, I guess you got to do that because we're starting sort of a new story, really, with the Master being Prime Minister and Toclafane. So you got to just move on to this two-parter. And so it does actually work better than I remembered. What struck me about rewatching this yesterday is how dark the storyline is. It's really dark and sinister. There's some really sort of gothic horror moments in this. The Master is just pure evil in this story, and I gained a much more appreciation for Sim's Master rewatching this yesterday, because the first time this aired, because I have such love for like Delgado and Anthony Ainley, I felt Sim hadn't quite got the character of the Master when I first watched this, because he seemed a bit too evil, there was none of that sort of charismatic side of the Master. So for me, I thought at first, I was like, yeah, I like him as the Master, but he's a bit too evil, he's not really got that other side to him that I think the Master's got. Rewatching this again yesterday, and it's the first time I've rewatched this two-parter in quite some time, I actually really loved Sim's Master, and there are some actually really nice comedic moments in it. You do actually see that side of the Master in certain scenes, like when he's watching the Teletubbies, which I guess is a throwback to when Delgado's Master was watching, what were they called? What was the kids' TV show? Can't think, but listeners will know. So there was a scene where the Delgado Master is watching like a kids' show in I think it's the Sea Devils. So yeah, there are moments like that, but Sim is actually giving a really great performance. I mean, he is just full of energy in every scene he's in, and he really has threat, and I think at the time I may have found it a bit too much, but watching it again yesterday, I mean, the stakes are high throughout the whole two parts. There's no moment when it lets up. The Master's pretty much winning all the way through this story, right up until the end. There's no moment when it sort of flips, the Doctor's in control and then he's back. The Master's pretty much, on top of the war all the way through this. So there's a really good threat level to it throughout the whole story. So before we sort of really delve into it, my thoughts are, I think it's a really good two-parter. There are a couple of little flaws in it, of course, as with any story. But I think the cast give a good performance, and I really enjoyed rewatching it. I thought it was a really good two-parter. The only thing that really lets it down for me is the conclusion. I didn't like it at the time, and I still don't like it on a rewatch. This whole thing of Martha spreading the Doctor's name and him suddenly becoming like this archangel that flies out the cage at the end. I just can't get on board with that. But having said that, thanks to Murray's brilliant music, and even though I don't like the idea, I still got a little chill as the Doctor rose up and came towards the Master, and the Master was like, no, don't say it. I still got a chill from it. So on some levels it still works, so I kind of forgive it. But that's really my only sort of negative for this story, is I don't kind of like the way the Doctor is resurrected or whatever. Yeah, but it's a good two-part, mate. I enjoyed rewatching this yesterday, and I really liked Sim in it, which is something which I wasn't expecting. In terms of, I really liked him, not just thought, yeah, he's okay. I really liked him in it, so it was really good. So it's a thumbs up for both parts. I thought both parts were good.
Okay. Yeah, dude, this is really enjoyable. Who overall?
It is.
Yeah, there are some flaws, as you said. I don't think hardly any story, singular or a 2 or 3 parts, whatever, is perfect. However, when I rewatched both of these parts yesterday, I can't tell you just how awesome it was to watch this. Just this era has, I don't mean to sound cliched and stuff, but it just does have a magical feel to it. It just really feels like there's no expectation around what fight you're going to have on Twitter the following day after you've watched the episode. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just watched it and you enjoyed it. Everything was just fire, especially at this point in Tennant's Doctor. It's like he's gone through, he's at the end of 2 series now at this point, absolutely found his feet as the Doctor, even way before this. But right now he's just so rocking and rolling. And it's interesting because the Last of the Time Lords is actually a bit of a Dr. Light finale episode, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd forgotten how little he's in it.
Yeah, but even so, when he is in it, he's just awesome, and he's in it a lot more in the Sound of Drums. But so he's rocking and rolling, and just the production and the script is just, other than a couple of little bits, it's pretty much solid. It's a really, really awesome script. Very dark in places, as you mentioned.
Very dark, yeah.
And mate, it's just so nice to go back and because I haven't seen this finale in a long time.
Same, yeah.
Long old time. And like you said, John Sims, he's kind of, you're a bit up and down with him at times. You think he's a bit OTT unnecessarily, but then you think is he nailing this? I'm not really sure. But then rewatching it, he's like, yeah, he's got just that consistently crazy look about him. He's almost like the Joker from Batman.
There are scenes where he reminds you of that. I did think that, yeah.
Yeah, he's got that sort of psychotic.
Like
I
the
think
gas bit.
Yeah,
when he puts his thumbs up, I'm like,
Yeah, defo. And I think the two main elements for me that I really like it, outside of what I've just spoken about, is first of all, it really does feel like the Master's winning, and the Doctor and his guys are really up against it, and the threat is very much there. And you almost think, like, how on earth are they going to get out of this? How? Because the Master just seems to have like a watertight plan, and everything's rocking for him. So the threat level is really good. Like, as you're watching through both episodes, it's like, crap, how are they going to get out of this? And then the other thing is, we say about the stars aligning and things like that. It's one of those episodes where Murray's music is not in your face all the time, but it's got some of his music is just tears in your eye sort of moments. They use This Is Gallifrey a few times, across these 2 parts. And when they do use it, it's like, wow, that's like a hit in the chest kind of moment. And it's amazing. And it's also got like the right mixture of kind of Time Lordy lore, Gallifreyan stuff dropped in there. It's got the relationship side of things between the Doctor and the Master. It's got some cool, just general Doctor Who coolness about it for its era, for the time. A little bit of humour in there and stuff. So it's just got, for me, it's got that really big, a really good, mixture of the right ingredients that produce a really, really good story. And it was just so enjoyable, mate. When I finished watching them, I was like, bloody hell. That was just so good. I didn't reach for my phone. I didn't do anything. I just watched them back to back. And it was just awesome. It just took me back to a place where I remember picking up the Series 3 box set on DVD and watching that and binge watching all of Tennant's era pretty much in one block years ago, and getting to that point and thinking, this is like peak. How are they going to do? And then, we saw even better stuff with Series 4 and the specials and stuff. But yeah, dude, this is like just so enjoyable to watch.
It stands out really well, doesn't it? Because that's the other thing. I was worried that sometimes when you get a final, when you're watching it at the time, you get all the sort of bells and whistles and it's all great. But then once you've seen it once, you go back and revisit it and you're like, no, it doesn't have that same, it's kind of, all the excitement's gone because you know what's coming. But watching this two-parter again yesterday, as I said, because the Master's so in control all the way through, and yes, you know what's coming, but I still felt that sort of that danger from him, and it was still, I think it held up pretty well. It's still a really good, it's quite intense time watch, you know. I mean, I don't think I've ever got over the Toclafane reveal. I mean, that is so dark. That little flashback to that kid, and you realise that kid has become the Toclafane, you know, the face with the wires in it. I mean, that is horrific, you know. And I at the time I was sort of open-jawed, and even yesterday rewatching it, I was like, I can't believe, like, you know, that's so dark. But it's kind of that, you know, that's good because, you know, in Doctor Who over the years, we've had moments like that, and Doctor Who does push boundaries and go, you know, to these areas, you know, hence why people say, oh, I hid behind the sofa, because Doctor Who has moments like that. And I think this feels very sort of classic in that going back and rewatching it, it's like, yeah, this is still the same show, you know, it's still got that effect on me. And I'm a big fan of Series 3, you know, I really like Martha. I think she's a great companion, and she gets a good sort of story because, like you said, the Doctor's not in the second episode too much. So I think it holds up really well. I still found it a good watch, and the effects, special effects as well, they're quite. I mean, they look okay for the time. You know, it's difficult because what year was this? 2007.
Yeah.
You know, Russell's asking quite a lot of the effects team in terms of the mini Doctor when he's put in the cage. You know, for the time, even with CGI at the level it was at, there's, you know, that Russell's still asking quite a lot of the effects team in this, and for the most part, I think the effects stand up quite well. I think the Doctor in the cage would probably look better if they did it now. I don't think it looked 100% brilliant at the time, but it's good enough. You know what I mean? It still works. It still has that desired effect to make it feel real enough, if you like, because you do feel sorry for the Doctor, and you wonder how the hell he's ever gonna get out of that cage. You know, the Master's really putting him through the ringer in this. And I just got to mention Murray's music as well, because I think Murray's music really helps sell a lot of the scenes in this. It really backs up what's going on screen to convey the emotions. And he's not playing it safe, Murray, in this, you know, because the Master's theme's great. You know, playing on that 3 knocks is brilliant. It's really creepy. And then Murray, you know, the bit when the Doctor's being shrunk by the Master, when just before he turns into, there's just a suit on the floor. You know, there's that crazy scene when the Doctor's in the wheelchair and the Master's really putting him through it till he shrinks to the little Doctor. That music, I don't actually like it, but it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that Murray's trying something different, even though I think it's like do you know what I mean? It almost sounds like a techno. I was thinking that is a really weird piece of music to use for that scene, but it does kind of work. And I just like the fact that Murray's just not, you know, selecting track 3 of, you know, the Series 2 soundtrack. You know, he's trying new stuff, and I like that.
Yeah, that's a really cool thing, actually. Now you've mentioned it, the 4 knocks thing, and how that, because it's used really well throughout.
3 knocks.
4 knocks, yeah.
Is it 3?
Yeah.
3 knocks, is it?
4, dude.
Oh, it is 4, yeah.
Right, let's get our fingers out and count.
I've written 3 on my pad. I'm just going to change that.
So the 4 knocks thing is used really well throughout this, because it kind of it's isolated just to the Master in this story, and you think, right, it's just his craziness. It's just in his head, and there's been fan theories about that whole thing around, you know, is it a Time Lord's heartbeat?
I love that theory. I like that.
You know, that kind of, you know, all that, regardless of what it is. I think Russell T Davies did debunk that at some point. I think he said it was just his alarm clock made that sound, a similar sound that woke him up, and he just used it. But it's a nice theory. But in this particular story, they isolate that whole 4 knocks thing as this drumming sound as something that's in the Master's head. But the way that Russell is, I don't know if he had foresight for this, or if when he was writing David Tennant's very last story, whether he went back and think, actually, I'll reuse that. I'm not sure which way around it was, but it's they reuse it in the very last finale for David Tennant, don't they? And it culminates with Wilf using that same rhythm when he's tapping on the glass.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's giving me chills just thinking about it.
I know, same.
Yeah. So it's really cool that they have this connected stuff, and that's the difference, I think, between when Russell writes the more sort of arc-based connected stuff versus Moffat. The Moffat stuff is in your face as you're watching through Series 6 or Series 7. It's like he's visually and audibly giving you these big cues to link all the stuff together. Whereas this, it's like, oh, do you remember the 4 knocks that was back in Last of the Time Lords and stuff like that? You don't realise it until you go and watch it and you think, oh, that was that. And that the whole connected stuff works really well as they flitted between Torchwood and Doctor Who. So the whole thing starts, doesn't it, with the episode Captain Jack Harkness from Torchwood. Then we flip over to... then it continues a bit more in End of Days for Torchwood. Then it flips over to Utopia, and then we continue with Sound the Drums, Last of the Time Lords. But you don't necessarily connect the dots immediately. You just think, oh, they reference that stuff in Torchwood. Oh, cool. And then that thing, and then, yeah. So they release that sort of craziness from the Master's head, and it's actually, it plays a bigger part. A bit like the crack in the wall, I suppose, for Series 5.
Yeah.
Although that's a bit more sort of in your face. This is a bit more like, yeah. I just love the way that Russell took this crazy psychotic thing that's sort of driving the Master mad, and that was his thing. And then towards the end of Tennant's era, it's like, oh, actually, this whole 4 knocks thing was a bit more of a prophecy kind of thing that was after the Doctor. So, it's that kind of lore stuff.
Russell's brilliant at intertwining, isn't he? Because, I mean, even in this story, he brings in elements from other stories that you wouldn't have seen coming. Like I said, the Toclavane reveal of that being the people going on the spaceship, and you got the Doctor's hand comes back into it. And so there's loads of little bits that he draws from previous stories that he just weaves in beautifully in this story, just seamlessly. And I agree with you. I love this idea that the Master, because he is obviously at this point, Sim's playing the Master a bit crazy, but it's great, isn't it? This idea that he's got these drumming sound in his head that's driving him nuts, and it's pushing him to be this, quite dangerous personality, because he's literally, it's driving him insane, basically. I think it's a great idea, and it's the flashback we get when the Doctor's telling the story of the Master, and we see, the Gallifrey Citadel and the young Master looking into the untempered schism. What a scene. It's even watching it yesterday, you talk about chills. That scene with Murray's music is just classic. To see that young Master staring in, and the beginnings of his sort of becoming the person that he is, and the Doctor knowing that he could still be saved, because he wasn't always like that. But as a kid, this happened, and and he's now got these drums, and the Doctor just wants to help him, doesn't he? Really, which is what he's always wanted to do. If you think about the Third Doctor and Delgado's Master, they have their sort of fights and everything, but at the end of the day, the Doctor just wants to help the Master. Even when he gets shot at the end, the Doctor's just mortified, isn't he? And that scene got me again. That still gets me, that the Master's like, no, I'm not living in a TARDIS for you for the rest of my days, I'd rather die, sort of thing. That is so the Doctor Master. So again, that's why I feel like I've sort of grown a bit more appreciation for Sim's Master, because that relationship between the Doctor and the Master is still very much the same between these two, even though this Doctor and Master are very different to the Third Doctor and Delgado. That relationship, I realised, is still very much there, rewatching this yesterday. And that drum beat, the 4 knocks, do you say that was Russell's alarm clock? Because
yes,
I've always had I don't know where I got this from. I always thought it was the bass in the Doctor Who theme. I just assumed, I always thought, that's brilliant that Russell's incorporated the Doctor Who theme to be these drums in the Master's head. But that maybe I've just it's just a theory that I come up with, but I still like that because it is. You know what I mean? It's still the 4 knocks. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's just a coincidence. So yeah, so I don't know which release it was, but apparently in Doctor Who magazine. So this would have been back in whenever it was, 2007, 2008, or onwards, whenever Russell was interviewed by Doctor Who magazine. But they did ask him about the whole 4 knocks thing. Because a lot of fans said, is it inspired by Ron Grainer's original theme tune?
Oh, right, yeah.
Or is it the Doctor Who's heartbeat and stuff like that? And he did say, unfortunately for you guys, it's not. My alarm clock played that kind of similar rhythm when it goes off. So that's what inspired the 4 knocks thing. So the reality is not as lovely as the
theories.
As the theories, yeah. But yeah, so I don't know what number Doctor Who magazine that is. Maybe our listeners will know and let us know. But yeah, so John Sim did just rocking and rolling. It's always a tricky one with when you have iconic characters that have been played so brilliantly in the past, like Delgado and so on. And you think, especially with the nostalgia goggles on as well, you think, nobody could ever replace. I don't think it's about replacing. I think it's just having, because it would have been crap if John Sim just tried to emulate one of the previous, it wouldn't have worked. True. So he did have to put a sort of modern zany psycho. And the reason why I say he reminds me of Batman from Joker, because, and again, not all Jokers have been written well like that, but for me, the best version of baddies like that, like the Joker, and this version of the Master, is that they could just create hell for the sake of it at any second. There's always that element of they're on the edge. And they're just that little bit crazy enough that, would they actually push the button? And they probably would, because we do have various stories throughout every genre where the bad guy has a case of conscience at the end, and would he actually press the button? And I think John Sim's Master would, which is why he's so threatening and so effective with that. And, yeah, because he does do it a couple of times, doesn't he? Like when there's what looks like just a reporter turns up at Downing Street, because at this point in the story, he's the Prime Minister, obviously, and he's living there with his wife, who doesn't look thrilled at times at all about it. And there's that woman that turns up, Vivian Rook. She says that she's from the Sunday Mirror. She's doing an interview, but she's actually probing more into, because she knows that something's not right with the Prime Minister, with Saxon. And there's that bit where she just starts to crack at the end. Lucy, she starts to really actually, yeah, you're right, there isn't something quite right about him. But then we have that really sinister minute where he's just standing there.
It's just there.
By the door. And that's what I mean, where he would do it because the Toclafane turn up and then he's just like, killer. And
he's
then
ruthless.
You're ruthless, yeah. And then there's that quite funny bit where she's screaming. He opens the door. He opens it again. She's still screaming. Shuts it, and he's got that sort of mocking a little bit. He's just like, "Oh God," and he's it's a bit funny, but he's really cool in that respect.
Do you know that's a prime example of a scene that I didn't like when I first watched it, and yesterday I found it really funny on a rewatch.
It is funny. I think
actually. Sometimes you're a bit. As a Doctor Who fan, like you said, that Sim's going to be the Master. This is his first sort of proper episode as the Master. We've briefly seen him in Utopia, but this is his first chance to really get to know his Master. And I think as a Doctor Who fan, when you're first watching this, you're sort of judging every single thing that they do. And I remember sort of thinking at the time, that's just, we're getting comedic now and it's silly. But I loved it yesterday because it's a really gruesome scene. And I think you need that humour to balance it. So I actually really, I was smiling at that joke yesterday, whereas before I probably wasn't. And did we know, because I'm trying to remember now, but we didn't know back in the day that the Master was Saxon, did we, until this episode? Was this the reveal? Because obviously Saxon, the posters had sort of been in the background of a few scenes and people had picked up on it. Who is Mr. Saxon? And I have a feeling that this was sort of the reveal, wasn't it? But back in the day, it would have been the Master is Mr. Saxon and Mr. Saxon is the Prime Minister. So I think that was probably a big reveal back then, but I can't remember because it's so long ago. Because now we just know it's the Master, don't we? Just
yeah.
But I think that would have probably been the big reveal. I think back then.
Yeah, I think. I think he was referencing Utopia though.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because he regenerates, doesn't he? He's at the end of Utopia. Oh yeah, but I think as Saxon though.
As Harold Saxon.
Sorry, as Harold Saxon. Yeah, then I think this is the first reveal sort of thing. The first time we see him as Prime Minister and stuff. Yeah. Yes. Sorry. Last thing I like about John Sim is that alongside the just craziness and the psychotic stuff, he seems to really enjoy it as well.
Oh, he looks like he's having a ball,
which is great. There's that one scene where the president of the United States turns up because the Master sort of wraps this whole thing up with the Toclophane as first contact with a new race of aliens, and it's a historic day, and so the president turns up, and there's that bit where they're up on his ship, aren't they, the Valiant, which looks, I'm pretty sure that the MCU took inspiration from that with the
definitely
with the hover the hover ship but yes it's Shield and their whole big hover ship and stuff and Fury anyway there's a bit where he sat round the table and the Prime Minister's like getting a bit sort of worked up, he's anxious and stuff. The Master just sat there at the table having a good old crack and a laugh, and then we have that little throwback, do you want a jelly baby? And he's just sat there having a good old laugh, and it's not until he decides, he's in control, he decides that he just stands up from his chair with authority.
Go on, then.
Yeah. And that's it. From that point on, he was in control anyway, but to the world looking in, he's like now taken over and he's doing his thing. So that's the other thing I love as well. He's having a laugh and a joke and he's smiling. He's just relishing in the whole thing. He knows his plan is working. He knows he's on track. The Doctor's not a threat right now. And even if he is, he handles the Doctor's attempt to stop it all quite easily. And, the whole thing that when they're in the warehouse and the Doctor works up the perception filters and stuff, the Master's like, that wouldn't work on me. This is ridiculous. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, not going to talk about John Sim for too long, but he was on a rewatch really, really good, I think, in this one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he like you said, the Master's relishing in all the stuff he's doing, and I think watching it again yesterday, I think John Sim appears to be relishing in the part. Just one last thing on him though. I remember when we found out he was coming back in the Capaldi era, thinking, because obviously I'd liked him before, but I wasn't overly in love with his Master at the time. So I remember thinking, good, it's a chance for him to look at what he did right and what he did wrong, and and come back and play the part a little differently. And I think John Sim himself said that he was, he always wanted a second chance to get it right, if you like. I'd have to rewatch the Capaldi episode, but I have to say, I think I actually prefer him in this. I don't remember particularly liking the sort of portrayal in the Capaldi two-parter. Well, I did like it, but I didn't think it added anything. I don't think he sort of, I don't know. I think rewatching this yesterday, I preferred Sim in this story, but I don't know. I haven't watched that Capaldi story for so long. I can't really remember him in it.
Oh, the Doctor Falls.
Dr. Falls, yeah. I think it's because I didn't like all the stuff with Missy. There was a few innuendo lines which I felt were really inappropriate and stuff. So, yeah, if anything, I think rewatching this again, I actually prefer him in this.
I think I do, mate,
better.
As well. Yeah, because he wasn't as zany. That's probably by design, but he just wasn't as we remember in this one. And even in The End of Time, when he comes back.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. I forgot about that.
When he comes back and then he kind of saves the Doctor at the end, doesn't he? He's got his pistol and he's like going back and forth between the Doctor and the Time Lords. And he got Rassel on there. And then he tells the Doctor to duck. And then, that bit, that was like...
I thought it was the Doctor that had the pistol.
Oh, sorry, the Doctor had the pistol, yeah. But at the end, he's got the pistol, doesn't he? He tells the Doctor to duck and then he shoots Rassel on.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So in that scene, he's still nuts. Where he's sort of running around and they do that really horrific looking thing where he's where he's eating a whole chicken and, that horrible bit there. And so he's kind of still like that. But I think in this one, I think he's a bit more rounded because he knows he's in control. And, so he knows the game plan. He knows what he wants to do. And for the most part, he kind of achieves most of it. It's not right until the very end where a lot of people consider the ending to be rushed. The whole Jesus moment with the Doctor and stuff. It's, So, John Sim, awesome. I think we can agree on a rewatch.
Yes, he's very good. Yeah, definitely better than I remembered. Yeah, yes. I think you're right. I'm confusing his master with the later one where, he is quite zany, isn't he? Like you said, the eating the chicken, all that. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm getting this sort of performances mixed up. Just before we finish on the master, he gets burnt at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why does that remind me of Star Wars? I mean, genuinely, why does it? Because every time I watch it, I think of Star Wars, but I don't know why. Is there a scene in Star Wars where, like, Darth Vader gets burnt or something? Or because every time I watch that, I think it's a homage to a scene in Star Wars. But am I just... No, well, you're the man. I thought you'd be the man to ask.
Well, I'm not sure.
Does Vader get burnt?
Well, there's obviously the very well-known scene of Anakin being burnt at the end of Episode 3.
That must be what I'm thinking of.
Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, I just thought it was like a homage to that.
Okay. No, I didn't see that.
But maybe not. Maybe I read into it too much.
Let's talk about some other characters. Because I think story-wise, although it is fairly simplistic, basically the Master wants to take over the world. He's brought back the Toclophane, which is very dark. Let's just pick up on that. That scene where, when Martha goes to see that doctor, what's her name? And she basically finds a way to open up the Toclophane and she can see...
Is it Doherty?
What's in it? It's, it's a really... Yeah, Doherty, Alison Doherty. And it kind of gets built up, but you didn't realise it was going to be dark like that. We knew it was going to be dark because the Master was like, if I tell you, you'll basically, you'll be horrified sort of thing. And
well, that's a great line, isn't it? He says, "If I tell you, it would break both your hearts."
Both your hearts. Yeah,
well, I thought it was a great line. That.
Yeah, and he's right because I think if the Doctor wasn't captured at that point, and it was the Doctor with Alison Doherty, and that was the first time he saw that, I think he would be. The Master's right; he would be completely shocked. So that's a nice little throwback to Utopia. So at the end, in the rocket, when all the humans are on the rocket ship. And they go off to quote-unquote Utopia. The Master's actually captured them all, hasn't he? And, quite horrifically. In a kind of sort of pseudo-Cybermen-esque kind of way, upgraded them, I think, because they seem quite happy in their little spheres knocking around. So they don't seem like... There's no complaints, really. But it is quite dark, isn't it? Is it one of those moments where you're like, beep... That is freaking terrible.
And I didn't see it coming. That's the thing. I did, because the Master says it a couple of times, like when you find out what they are and you're like, well, what are they? Come on, tell us. So when they did finally reveal it, I mean, I never saw that coming. Never in a million years saw that coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So the story is quite simplistic. The Master, has, taken these humans, transformed these into the Toclophane. The world thinks they're aliens. He wants to take over the universe and he wants to use the Earth to do it. He wants the Earth to be his base of operations, basically, and off he goes. What did you think to, just one quick story thing, what did you think to, so alongside that, we had the whole, like I mentioned, it's kind of a Doctor Light episode for the second part. The focus was kind of on Martha for a large portion of that second bit, and then Captain Jack and Martha in the first bit with the Doctor. Right decision to not have the Doctor driving that whole thing in the second part, because it is a big finale. It's a big thing, and he gets reduced to the old man in the wheelchair, and then the little funny-looking Gollum character towards the end. So he doesn't really do much until right at the very end. So normally we have the Doctor Light episodes as a sort of one-off in the series, just when they want to mix things up a bit. So right decision though to not have David Tennant as the Doctor driving the plan and driving the offensive throughout the second part, but more so relying on Martha and other people.
Yeah, it's funny because I think it works well, actually, surprisingly. It has the same effect as in the Christmas Invasion for me, where he's in bed for nearly the whole story.
He has a good old run, doesn't he, Tennant? Doesn't do much in the important ones.
Yeah, another easy day on set. It has the same effect in that when he does finally come back, you're like, yes! Do you know what I mean? Because you've missed him. So it doesn't feel like... I don't find myself thinking, come on, where's the Doctor, bring him back into... I think the story carries itself well, and I think Martha's a strong enough character to sort of carry the scene she's in. I mean, the bit where the Master lands on Earth to get her, I love that. Like, he's just walking down the street, isn't he, going, come on, come out, little mouse, or whatever. Yeah, great scene, and I think Martha's good in the story. So yeah, right decision. I think it works well, and also it does add to the threat of how the hell is the Doctor ever gonna get out of this? He's been shrunk to a mini Gollum. You know, how the hell is he gonna come back? As I said, I think that it's a difficult one to get out of, isn't it? I don't like the whole sort of Jesus thing, but yeah, I don't know how else you could have really got round it, to be honest. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, how do you feel about the reset? Because during the Moffat era, Moffat got a lot of stick for having a few stories where they basically pushed a reset button, and that was the conclusion. And I have to say, I'd forgotten that they kind of do the same in this story, don't they? They reset it to just after the president dies. None of those people died. It's all good. No one will remember it apart from us. There is a massive push of the reset button at the end of this, which I think we can forgive, because at this point, I don't think it had been done so many times, whereas in the Moffat era they did it a few times, didn't they? So I think we can forgive it in this one, can we?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not to be confused with writing an easy way out. I think that's kind of obvious sometimes, you know.
That's good. It's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell a mile off sometimes where the writer for something has kind of boxed themselves into a corner, and the only way out of it is to do a bit of a big, push the reset button. But I think in this one, it feels more like that was planned from the beginning anyway. Yeah, I feel like that was... I do, it sounds weird, but I do trust Russell and his story writing skills. He's such a master at it. I don't think it's a sort of thing where he's like 2 bottles of wine down at 1 a.m, scratching his head like...
Who are you talking about?
How am I... Well, that sounds like Moffat, doesn't it? But I just cannot see Russell doing that. I can't see him having a panic attack like, oh my God, how is this going to wrap up? We have no idea. Let's just do the old faithful. Let's just go with the reset button and that's it. I think he's got more. That would be selling him short if that was an intentional, an accidental thing that some writers do. So yeah, it's kind of one of those. Yeah, do we let them have it? Do they need to do it?
I think it works. Yeah. I think I can forgive it. Do you think they were used well in it? Did you like Martha's family?
Yeah, I think so, because I think previously they were a bit wet.
Yeah.
So I think her mum especially was very much like, you shouldn't be doing this. A bit like
but nagging.
Yeah, a bit like Rose's mum to a degree, but I think with Jackie there was a lot more. I think she had reason. Well, it was humour, but I think she saw firsthand, the dangers there. So I think they were better because they were a bit more. They just pulled up their big person pants and got on with it. There's a really good scene, isn't there? It's a bit like a James Bond espionage sort of thing where there's got the hand signals and they're showing each other. Yeah. And they've concocted this plan so that they can get this, not the Sonic. It changes it, doesn't it? It's not the Sonic anymore. It's the, whatever the Master calls it.
It is a Sonic. It's a Sonic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Sonic, but he references it as something else, doesn't he? He says it's it's like no longer Sonic, something else. Can't remember. Anyway,
it's not the best plan, though, is it? I mean, Jack pulls himself free from the chains, which I thought, well, if he could do that, why didn't he do it anyway? And then they pretty much get captured straight away. It's a little bit filler, that, actually, in a way, isn't it? But then we've got to have a scene where they try and escape. So, again, I can forgive it. Because obviously they're going to try and escape.
Yeah, a little bit.
He says it's touch control, doesn't it? That's why he says, like I would let you use my Sonic. It has to have my handprint. I thought, well, yeah, that's a good thing. That's the sort of thing the Master would do.
Yeah, and that was a bit weird because you would have thought the Doctor would have kind of known that, because he's kind of on the same wavelength in a bizarre way with the Master, which it goes back to that relationship stuff you were talking about earlier. So, but anyway, Martha's parents, they were cool because there's a bit of progression there for them. They weren't just viewed as sort of the nagging parents or the separated parents where, dad's gone off doing his thing, naggy old mum. They seem to have rekindled. This has brought them closer together. So they're, her mum and dad are getting closer together. But also there's a really good scene where Martha's mum picks up the gun at the end, towards the end. And she's going to do it. She's going to, because there's that scene where they're all three of them are like, Martha's sister, Tish.
Yeah.
They're all like, I'm going to kill him. No, I'm not going to be the one to kill him. And her dad's like, no, it's got to be me, sort of thing. So it's really cool that they've got a bit more sort of oomph about them. Yeah, they're not just moaning about Martha the whole time. So yeah, I thought they were quite cool. Let's talk about Freema actually, because she had quite a bit to do.
Yeah.
She had quite a bit to do, and I would say probably one of her best performances as Martha. I really like her in this one because she has, as well as having stuff to do, she handles the various sort of emotional states of things really well. So at the beginning, she's very much, I think she kind of enjoys the bants between her and the Doctor and Captain Jack. She kind of likes that. But then when it hits the fan, she goes off, doesn't she? She goes round the world. We find out she's telling stories about the Doctor and stuff like that. But she gets viewed as this kind of legendary figure, yeah, which is kind of cool. But then she's really emotional because, she sees people die. She sees what's going on and stuff. But then she's got that quiet confidence about her as well when she's telling the Master the plan at the end. She's like, I wanted to let Doherty know so that she knew that she would let the Master know about it so that he could bring her here at this precise moment. It was all set up, everything's sort of cool. She's got that confidence. And then at the end, she's got that strength about her, whereas Rose just, crumbles every time that, she might not see the Doctor again. Martha's like, actually, I'm good. My family needs me. What's just happened, people need me. I'm going to stay. So she's got that strength about her as well, which is good. So I really like her in this. I think Freema had a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Martha quite an underrated companion. I think she's a good character, and it's nice to see her getting some good meat on the bones in terms of the script. She gets good stuff to do. I really like the perception filter idea as well. I think that's a really nice idea. That how do they describe it? That it's kind of like looking at someone, but you're looking to the side of them or whatever. I just think it's a really simple idea that actually could work. So I like that. But yeah, I think Freema gives a very good performance in it. I think maybe should we talk about her exit as we're talking about her? Because, she does say goodbye in this story. And I think a lot of the things that people criticize when we talk about the character of Martha is the fact that she's, in love with the Doctor, but he doesn't love her back. And people don't like that because they're fed up of the companion fancying the Doctor. But I'll be honest, and I've said it before, I've never really had a problem with it because I think, if you're traveling with someone like David Tennant's Doctor, he's a good-looking chap. You're on all these adventures together. I think it would be quite hard not to sort of form some sort of attachment to them. So I don't really have a problem with Martha fancying the Doctor. And I really like the speech she gives at the end, where she says about she had this friend who spent years wasting her life, because she fancied this guy who didn't look at her twice. And I told her to get out, and this is me getting out. I really like that speech because I think a lot of people can associate with that. I think it's a really, it's a very true thing. A lot of people do fancy people that, just don't give them the time of day, but they keep, going back. And I just think it's a really good speech. And I like the fact that Martha tells him, and the Doctor is kind of forced to acknowledge, of course, he's picked up that she fancies him, but he's just refused until this point really to acknowledge it. And it's kind of like Martha saying, come on, I like you in that way. I could tell it's never going to happen. I'm getting out. And it's her decision. And, you know, she's saying, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I think it's a really good exit for her. And I don't have a problem with her fancying the Doctor. And because of that end speech, I think it kind of brings the series to a nice conclusion for her character. She's realised she's been on some good adventures. She's realised it's not going to really happen with the Doctor. She's not going to waste any more of her time. She's going to get on with her life and she's going to go back to her family. So I think, again, Russell just, you know, taking all those strands that he's created through Martha's stories and bringing them to a really good ending. I really like her exit.
I agree, dude. Yeah, and it's I just echo what you've just said pretty much. Yeah, I appreciate that she was written in a way that did show strength with the Doctor, because she could have very well changed her mind at the end, and there was a moment where you thought she might, because although the Doctor looks a little bit excited to see her come back in the TARDIS at first, he's like, in his mind, he's like, right, okay, we've dealt with all that, on to the next adventure. He's kind of up for it, but then he looks at her and he can tell, he's like, oh, hold on, you know, something's not quite right. And he's not crappy with her anyway, which is cool. But then when she comes back in the TARDIS, she runs back in. You think, oh, she changed her mind. She does want to go on an adventure, but, you know, she's getting her thoughts out, what's in her head now while she's got the chance, because she knows full well that she's probably not going to see him again. Obviously she does later on. She comes back for a couple of things, but she knows that how the Doctor is, she's probably never going to see the TARDIS again or whatever. But yeah, and they could have easily done it the other way around. They could have done the whole crying her eyes out, you know, she wants to go, but the Doctor's like, you're in too much danger, I almost got you killed. You know, that road that they've gone down a couple of times, you know, it's not safe. She's crying her eyes out, but I want to come, you know, a bit like a Rose sort of thing. But, you know, but they didn't. They just went with that. She's strong enough, confident enough in her own abilities that while that's cool, you know, a bit like Grace, I suppose, from the TV movie to a degree, you know, that's kind of that thing where they had a bit of a, are they, aren't they? Does she like him? I think she does. It's quite clear. But, you know, ultimately at the end, the Doctor's just gone off solo. So it's kind of like that, you know, it's a strong female character. It's not throwing shade, but it's not a Rose.
I mean, you couldn't do that again. I mean, I must admit, I mean, I prefer in a way to watch this exit than I would Rose's again, because Rose's, it does, you know, I think it wasn't that long ago I reviewed it, was it? It does go on a bit, if there's one more time to say it. It's like you're almost shouting at the screen, just say it and go. Whereas this, I feel myself getting quite wrapped up in it and nodding along, thinking about, yes, we've all had someone we liked who didn't, you know, return the affection. We've all, you know, we can all relate to that. So I really like this exit. And it is. I think it's just Martha. She's been a strong character all the way through. I think if you think about Family of the Blood, you know, it's a great story for Martha, that is. And she's strong in that, even though, yes, she's getting jealous of the Doctor falling in love with someone else. It still works, you know. I think I prefer it really in the sort of, in a way, to sort of to Rose lusting after Doctor. I think it works better with Martha in a way. But I know that's the thing that people often criticise her character for. It's like, oh, she was in love with the Doctor, you know. But I think it works. I honestly do think it works.
No, I agree, man. I agree. Just want to very quickly talk about Captain Jack.
Yeah.
Because he does play a couple of important parts in the story. So
I have an important question about Captain Jack, but we'll get to it in a minute.
So just to address the elephant in the room, we're not going to talk about John Barrowman for very long, for obvious reasons. Now, that's not because we feel a certain way or not about what's going on in the media right now and what's happening with John Barrowman. But we're certainly not the sort of people that buy into this cancel culture stuff. So we're not just going to pretend like he doesn't exist, you know, and, you know, that sort of thing. But for obvious reasons, we're not going to dwell too long. But he did play Captain Jack pretty good in this one. One thing I did like about it is because Torchwood was running almost concurrently at this time, we had a lot of more adult stuff, innuendo, all that stuff in Torchwood from Captain Jack. It was nice to see him here playing it quite straight. I don't mean that straight as in sexually. I mean, like, you know, playing it quite straight and kind of just being the Doctor's backup for a large part of it. Yeah, and
he's more toned down, isn't he? He's more toned down in the story.
Yeah, I think he's aware of what's at stake a bit more. I think he's a bit more, with Torchwood and his team. He's a bit more, we've got this. We kick ass, sort the aliens out in Cardiff mainly. We're good. But in this one, I think he sees the bigger picture. He knows that now's not the time to be cracking one-liners, here, there and everywhere. He does have a couple of times, but there were 3 scenes that I really liked. Just quickly, the first one is when the Doctor's like, with the perception filters, he's like, when somebody really fancies you, but you don't see it sort of thing. And then him and Martha look at each other and they're like, you too, huh? And she's like,
Yeah.
So that was really cool. The second one was when he's like, actually, yeah, kind of something to tell you. The Doctor doesn't know that he's resurrected Torchwood. So the Doctor's obviously like, what the frick? And he's like, I'm doing this. It's good now. Torchwood is different. It's not like before sort of thing.
That reminded me that this is early days. I was like, the Doctor doesn't even know that Torchwood's back. This is like really early days for that sort of thing.
Yeah, for the Doctor's point of view anyway. Yeah, he doesn't really know. And anyway, he's like, I resurrected this in your honour. And he sort of stares at him for a few seconds as he says that. And I think he's just trying to get through to the Doctor, like, look, regardless of how you felt about Torchwood in the past, this is me now. Think about it as me sort of thing. So that was cool. And then lastly, at the end, where he runs off, we're in Cardiff Bay, as usual with Torchwood. And he's like, they called me the face of Bo. And then the Doctor and Martha are like, no. Is it? No. So they never really 100% confirm that, do they? That he was. But it was all said and done. It's pretty obvious that it's a direct link. But yeah, so John Barrowman played it a bit straighter. I quite like it. That
was going to be my question. Is Captain Jack the face of Bo?
Yeah,
because I love that end scene. And I think it does work, though, if you think about it. He can't, like he says, he's getting old. He's starting to get like the odd grey hair. He is aging, but he can't die. So where does where does Captain Jack end up as a big old face in a life-saving glass jar? So you can see that he could become the face of Bo, and the face of Bo does tell the Doctor he's an old friend and all that. So, but I don't want it ever confirmed or ever not confirmed. I like the fact it's just a throwaway line, and if you want to believe that Bo is Jack, you can. But if you want to dismiss it as just no way, you can. I'd just leave it at that because I think it's a great line, and I really like the idea personally.
I think it's too on the nose.
Maybe
for it to not be the case. I mean, I'm really surprised.
Right, yeah.
I'm really surprised that Big Finish haven't done anything with that over the years.
Yeah, give them time. Give them time.
Yeah, that just sounds like ripe sort of back filler story stuff to do. I don't know, but anyway, John Barrowman. I appreciate that they wrote him and he performs it in a way that's not typical Jack. He's aware of the stakes and he's playing it a bit more serious and straight, which is cool.
Yeah, a bit more toned down. I agree. I like it. Yeah.
David Tennant then, to finish up, and then a couple of very quick bits. David Tennant, as I mentioned at the beginning, obviously found his feet as the Doctor really early on, just flew into the role without any warm-up. It feels like he was, but he's just really, I don't know, just got such a presence. Even when he's like the old Doctor in the wheelchair, just his eyes and the way he looks, and he can act really well with his eyes and his face, David Tennant. And consistency in brilliance for me with David Tennant. Very, very few episodes in his run where I thought he didn't really play the Doctor that well.
Sort of on autopilot sort of thing,
Yeah. So any complaints with this? I assume you like his performance, but any complaints?
No complaints at all. And you just said about him acting with his eyes, which sounds like an easy thing to do. It's really not. To portray emotion under all those prosthetics. God, did I actually say the word right?
You did, mate.
Prosthetic, my goodness. To actually convey emotion under all that, and let's face it, he's got quite a lot on at one point, is quite something, to be honest, because he doesn't even say anything, does he? He's just doing this sort of heavy breathing, and he's just staring out, and he looks like a broken man, and he's conveying that literally with his eyes, because the rest of him is all prosthetic. So, yeah, it's a good performance from him, but not just when, he's playing the old Doctor, but when he's just playing the regular Doctor. Like I said, the scene where he's talking about Gallifrey and the Master. You know, he's just got like you say, he's just got the presence and the delivery, the way he delivers the lines. It used to really bug me that they didn't let him use his natural accent, because I used to get a bit annoyed with the sort of the Mockney way he talked. I don't even notice it now. I'm just so used to that being how the Doctor talks. But I think because I knew at the time, I sort of felt like it was almost like a sort of forced accent, if you like, which used to sort of bug me. But I don't even notice it now. I love his delivery. Like when he's doing the voiceover bits on Gallifrey, it's just brilliant, beautifully delivered. And I think it comes back to him doing Big Finish at the moment as well. He sounds so good on Big Finish. I don't even sort of sit there and think, no, but he's Scottish. Why is he doing that silly accent? It's just the Doctor. And I think he delivers in spades, mate. He's just fantastic presence when he's on screen. Yeah. And he works really well with the other cast members as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? He really connects with the other cast members, which is important. I mean, I was thinking about the scene when he's lying with the Master in his arms and he has to do that scream, doesn't he? At the end, the Master dies and he does this sort of really painful, this really painful scream. And I thought, we just watch it and we take it as a piece of television and drama. But if you sort of break it down, it's two actors lying on the floor hugging each other and he's got to let out this scream. It must feel awkward. It must, to actually convey that sort of amount of emotion. So, yeah, I think he gives a great performance. And I think he really works well with the rest of the cast as well, especially Sim. I like it when we get the Doctor and the Master have that sort of face-off on the rocks, don't they, on the sort of cliff edge. And it's quite brief, actually. I almost wish we got a bit more of the Doctor and Master like that. But the David Tennant's so strong in it. He's like, give that to me. You're never going to do it. I know you too well. Just give it to me now. He almost sounds like a teacher scolding a student, a pupil. And I just thought, the Doctor's back. Tennant's really, back in charge, and he's now putting the Master in his place, and he just delivers it brilliantly.
Yeah. No, I completely agree, man. Definitely. And it's a couple of touchy moments at the end. That scene where the Master supposedly dies in his arms is quite touching, and then we have the flashback to where he's cremating the Master, and it's all quite down and and stuff. So yeah.
What about the Master's ring being picked up? I think I remember Russell saying that was a very last minute decision, just in case they wanted to bring him back.
Yeah, it's a kind of blink or you miss it thing, and you don't really think. Well, I guess you do you do look into it, and you think, oh yeah, this is. Well, I was in two minds. I was like, is this a kind of a just in case thing? Like later on in the Who's run, we need to bring the Master back. Well, funny you should mention that, because we just so happened to put a little fail safe in place. Or was it again one of those purposeful things where they knew they were going to bring him back later? Maybe. So I'm in two minds about it. Either way, it's kind of cool, because those of you that are real fans of the Master, you had that little inkling like, yes, he might be back. We might see him again, which is cool.
I'm glad they included it, because I would not like to think this was, the character killed off. I think the character of the Master should always be there. They do allude to the fact that he might be the Doctor's brother as well, again in this, which I think is a nice nod to the classic series. Again, not confirmed, which I don't think it ever should be, but I love the fact there's a little nod to it. And I think Russell was quoted as saying that he thought the hand picking up the ring could be the Rani, which would have been great. I wish Russell had followed through with that and brought the Rani back, because that would have been superb. But myself, I just assumed it was Lucy Saxon, because red nail varnish. I just thought, it's Lucy and picking up the ring. But the Rani is definitely the better idea. I really wish Russell had written the Rani. I think he would have written her brilliantly.
Yeah, Rani.
We didn't talk about Lucy Saxon, maybe just to say, I thought she was really good, actually. She plays this kind of lost sort of character that's sort of been influenced by the Master and, kind of swept along for the ride. And then she kind of she sees through him at the end. She gets fed up with him flirting with everyone. And I just have to say, I think Lucy Saxon, Alexandra Moen, played the part really well. She does this weird dance when he puts on Here Comes the Drum, which is I like, because it's sort of an awkward, like, I don't know how to dance. I just thought it was a really nice performance from her.
Yeah, no, she was okay. She's almost, that she's not happy. Something's not right there, obviously.
And she gives him the bullet at the end. She gives him a couple of slugs.
Yeah.
Just because, the scorned woman. Get him.
But she does get treated quite badly, though. You can tell that.
Yeah.
And there was a bit where there's a scene where her and the Master are leaving the main sort of area on the ship where the conference room is and the little platform and stuff. The bridge, I suppose. And he gives her a little pat on the bum, and grabs, a little bit and, they're off sort of thing. And I was thinking, please no. Please no. Well, I don't want to see a story in a paper. John Sims had...
Oh, no.
Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, God. So I'm just hoping that was I'm just hoping that was either written in and directed like that, or Alexandra Moen's like, between the two of them are like, actually, let's sort of try and paint the Master as even more of a sleaze bag. Let's do that. So please, let's not. Anyway, but yeah, so her character was very much a broken woman, and you can tell that at the end, she had had enough, and the Master was going to get his comeuppance by her hands, basically.
I think she was the one to do it. I think it's the right character to do it as well.
Yes, yeah. And it's also leads into a cool kind of thing where, because after that point, she just loses her marbles. She's just gone, because when we see her again and she's resurrecting John Sim's Master, she's just crazy, like she's gone.
Do you know, I can't remember. I need to rewatch that story. I can't remember it at all.
Yeah, she's nuts, mate. She comes across as sane and everything's cool, but she's got this like crazy infatuation with him, like, Anyway.
That's what I liked about her performance in this, is you kind of get that impression that she's not all there in this. Like I said, the weird dance she does, and you kind of get the fact that she could be on the edge of being a bit of a nutter.
Yeah. And just before we get on to our scores and listener reviews, the ending. A lot of people not a fan of the ending, dude. It seems to be the one thing in this finale where people are just like, oh, it's almost like a lot of people label it as the Jesus moment.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were on about the Titanic crashing through the TARDIS.
No.
The Jesus moment.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a fan of it. No.
So the whole thing where, this archangel.
But how has he plugged this? He says, I've had a whole year to plug myself into the... How has he plugged himself into the Archangel network? I just don't get it.
I don't know, man. And then so he's kind of tuned himself into the frequency, the psychic energy of people.
It's probably my biggest complaint with the story too. It doesn't bother me that much, but I don't like it. It doesn't work. I don't think. I think it's just a way to quickly wrap up the story. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. It's just a little bit, really, like, It's almost pushes itself up to the boundary of being a less science fiction and more magic, that sort of thing where Doctor Who kind of goes up to that line sometimes. It's almost like that. I don't know. It's definitely not the strongest ending.
The best thing is if you just don't dwell on it, because if you cut past that explanation, you get some really good stuff. Like you get the Doctor hugging the Master and saying, I forgive you. And he's like, no, I don't want to hear it. And you get all that great stuff between the Doctor and the Master after he gets shot and all that. So if you just don't dwell on it, I think it's all right. But yeah, not really a fan, I have to be honest, of the whole resurrection idea.
Yeah. No, I agree, mate. Rightio then. I think we've spoken about quite a few things. Anything else you want to mention before we go on scores?
No, I don't think so, mate. I think we covered it.
Okay, well, it's probably stuff we've missed, obviously, but we can talk for hours, mate.
Oh, and it was Clangers, by the way, that the original Master was watching on the TV.
Oh, the Clangers.
So
right.
The Delgado Master Clangers, Sim Master Teletubbies.
Teletubbies. Oh, of course, yeah. Okay. You can go first, buddy. Welcome back.
Oh, okay. This is an 8 out of 10 for me. Good story. Enjoyed it. Knocking off a couple of points for the things we've mentioned, like the resurrection moment and stuff like that. But it's good. I think it stands up well. I was surprised how much I was into it. I've watched it a few times over the years, and I still found it myself quite engaged by the story. So, 8 out of 10. Okay,
it's an 8.5 for me.
Oh, 0.5.
Edged forward, mate. Yeah, by 0.5. Yeah, an 8.5 for me because I'm with you on exactly the same things that you mentioned, but I gave it an extra half because it was just nice to watch Doctor Who and not be enveloped in all the nonsense that comes with it these days. It was just the exact same feeling that I got when I first watched it, when I bought the box set back in whenever it was. 2007, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And I just love that feeling. But the same complaints around the end in a couple of little bits. But yeah. Okay, cool. So an 8 from you, and 8.5 from me. That's cool. What did our listeners think then? We had a few in, so let's go through those. First up is Neil Campbell.
What about you fellas? Hope you're well. It's great to have you back. So, the sound of drums and last of the Time Lords. I think I've said it before on this show that Series 3 is actually my favourite series since Doctor Who was brought back in 2005. It just brings back so many good memories from 2007. Regards to the actual story itself, I like it. It's decent. Obviously, Utopia, in my opinion, was a strong story. And then it leads into this. And, you know, I like John Sims' Master. He's manic. I think it works. Martha is obviously, you know, she gets a key role in this story. I think Freeman Agyeman puts in a really good performance. And then on top of that, the ending, you know, I thought it was decent and it was very poignant. And it's good to see somebody leave of their own terms, you know, not somebody being killed off or whatnot. And I think that works. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. That soundtrack, that theme that plays, you know, whenever Martha goes into the TARDIS, and it appears in Series 3, Series 4, and then a bit of the specials as well. And it's never made any of the official soundtracks. And I think that's an absolute travesty. I wasn't overly fussed on the Doctor, you know, flying through the room, and also, you know, when he was shrunk, I didn't think the CGI was particularly good on that, and I didn't like the way the Master references Rose, which happens loads in Series 3. I hate that, let it go. But what I did really like was the scene of John Sims' Master watching the Teletubbies, which is reminiscent of Roger Delgado's Master, you know, in the Sea Devils, which happens to be my favourite ever Doctor Who story. So all in, I'm going to give us an 8 out of 10. Cheers.
An 8 from Neil.
An 8. And I'm glad Neil mentioned the soundtrack thing, mate, because I've always thought that I was going mad. I was thinking that theme is used so much, it must be on at least one of the soundtracks. And it's not. For goodness sake, Murray.
I don't think it's Murray's fault, dude. I think it's the BBC. Yeah.
No, it's Murray. Murray chooses the track listing, which is why we haven't got Series 10.
Oh, you're right. Oh, no, you're right. Yeah.
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 Come
Sorry,
on,
Beep.
Murray. Sort it out.
Yeah, I just thought... yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I think he tweeted, didn't he, a while ago?
He's like, I'm still configuring the...
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, Murray, come on, dude.
But where was that? It's such a nice theme, and it crops up all the way through Series 3. I mean, it's not on the... Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much, Neil. An 8, good score. Sammy Satine from Down Under.
Hey, Gary and Adam, Sammy Satine here. So, the sound of drums last of the Time Lords. If Stu Bagfull is correct, this is the template for years and years. It even has its own Vivian Rourke, who in this is a journalist who talks to Lucy and gets murdered by the Toclafane. It's never explained, but why does the Master pick Lucy? How is he controlling her? And what does he gain? Because the Master's never been one for a companion. Also, he offers Lucy a jelly baby. I found him rather intimidating when I first saw him. Now I just find him very OTT. The Toclafane are just so menacing but incredibly sad. Those humans going to Utopia deserve better. It's brutal. Making the Doctor Jesus-like, not so good. Also, I guess the time reversal was the only way out, but the UK still elected someone who murdered the President of the USA. Where are the consequences? I give it 9 Toclafane out of 10, because it frankly lost its impact. Now I know what happens. See ya.
A 9 out of 10.
A 9 out of 10. Even though you destroyed it, Sammy. You awarded it a 9. Interesting.
I think the Master's controlling Lucy with the do-do-do-do. I don't know how, but that's how that's what I'm thinking.
There are certain things about the Master's relationship with Lucy we don't need to know about.
Yeah, we should never know.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, weird one, Sammy. It sounds like you were not too happy with it, but a 9 nonetheless. Cool, thank you very much. Moving on, this is Mr. Joe Turner.
Hi, Gary and Adam. Glad you're back. Sound of the Drums is a fantastic episode. I just love the idea of the Doctor, Martha and Jack on the run from the government. The interactions between Tennant and Sim are just so tense and executed to perfection. I think Sim is fantastically mad and bonkers, especially when executing the president, then playing a pop song, dancing as millions get slaughtered. The cliffhanger is superb. There is lots of action involving the police shooting at the gang, and it makes for intense, edgier stuff. And the score throughout is exceptional and really high octane, adding to the stakes of the episode, combining well with what's on screen, especially the score, all the strange creatures. However, Last of the Timelords has always felt a step down for me. I feel as though there was far too much talking, as well as the fact that we don't actually get to explore the world in which the Master has created after a year in charge, and the one in which Martha has been describing. Because seeing some of the statues and hearing the stories about the horrific things the Master has done would have been really cool and added to the story. I suppose it was down to budgetary reasons. In saying that, I do love the start when we see Earth has been quarantined, and Martha's costume is really cool. Freeman is on fire, and the ending is very emotional and brings to the forefront the relationship between the Master and the Doctor. But for me, the ending was way too weak and rushed. So overall, I'm going to give this finale an 8 out of 10. Thank you.
Another 8.
Another 8, yeah, that's good.
Nice one, Joe. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Freeman's on fire. Martha's rocking and rolling on this one, dude, as we've said. Yeah, another solid review, man. Thank you very much, Joe. Another 8, all good. And the last one is TardisNet66.
The Sound of the Drums and Last of the Timelords is an overhated and underrated finale. I prefer it to the Series 4 finale, which I know is an unpopular opinion. I think it's mainly disliked for the scenes of the Doctor as Dobby and Space Jesus, and the way time is reversed at the end. But there's more to the story. John Sims, my favourite incarnation of the Master, is insane, unhinged and manic, with a repulsive satisfaction from cruelty, and the Four Knocks backstory brings appropriate tragedy and depth to the character. Furthermore, I love the fact that after years of the Master being beaten by the Doctor, we finally get to see him succeed and take over for a period of time, with a chance to act on his cruelty and power. You can understand his motivations using the paradox machine, and you can understand his entitlement as a Time Lord, and his relationship with the Doctor is appropriate development that makes a lot of sense. I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Another 8.
Another 8, yes.
Holy crap, the 8s are rolling in. Nice one, Sal, isn't it? Yeah, agree with your thoughts on the Master as well. Such a good performance from John Sim, and that whole relishing in the destruction and stuff, as you said, it's spot on, dude.
I like that phrase as well. Overhated and underrated. Great.
Yes. While I think of it very quickly, another piece of music that was very cool at the very end of The Sound of Drums. You know, when you see that scene from space where all the Toclophane are sort of hovering down.
Yes.
And the Master's like, and so it came to pass, the human race fell, the earth was no more, and I looked down upon my new dominion as Master or something. There's a really cool piece of music that plays there as well.
Good, he says.
And
Good.
Yeah. That music's not on the soundtrack either, I remember.
Oh, Murray, for goodness sake.
Murray, what are you doing?
What have you playing at, Murray? Just too much to fit on.
Yes. Thank you very much, guys, for sending in your audio clips. Some 8s and a 9 from Sammy, so that's all good. We only had a few in on a social, so I can rattle through these relatively quickly. On Twitter, our writer Jordan said, I used to hate this one when it first aired, but I've grown to like it over the years. Great performances from all involved, even if I think this Master is a little too crazy. It's just a shame it all gets undone with the Doctor becoming an angel at the end.
Yes, I agree, Jordan.
Yes. Josh Van der Slees, or Van der Sluis, it was a good 2-parter for Martha, despite the Jesus pieces of the Doctor in the cage. Sim was good as the Master, despite me wanting Derek Jacobi to remain from Utopia. Interesting thought, that one. The way the TARDIS was turned into a paradox machine was brilliant. 3.5 black hole rockets out of 5. That's out of 5, not too bad. Cool. Morgan McCandless, our good friend, says, after recently watching Life on Mars, it's easy to see why Sim was cast as the Master. He's great. I love this finale, even if 10 literally becomes Space Jesus for a bit. Martha's exit is perfect and she remains one of my favourite companions. 9 spiky death spheres out of 10.
Cheers, Morgs.
Doctor Who Home says Sound of Drums is one of the finest storytelling from RTD, intense drama and world building. The Master Doctor interactions are edge of seat moments, and it all builds to that jaw-dropping punch of a cliffhanger. I guess the finale is all right as well, a little bit slow, but a great ending 8 out of 10. Chippy T says, my only problem with Tennant is his over-emotional reactions at times. Having seen as much as he has, I want him to be cooler under pressure. Still, Jacoby was excellent. Martha had a strong story and Sim was maniacally entertaining, a 7.5. And lastly on Twitter, Nick H says, despite the obvious issues and faults, I really like these two. Martha gets to be the lead for Last of the Time Lords, which is welcome. Dobby Doctor, though, Eek, love John Sim. His wife is cute. To 8 out of 10. And just a few on Facebook. Jeff Waddle says, Sound of Drums 7, Last of the Time Lords a 2 out of 10. Oh,
2?
What a letdown of a final episode. After a strong build-up and beep to this Doctor is a god-type garbage. And as for the wee shrunken Doctor thing, what the hell were they thinking? This showcased all the bad things I don't like about the RTD era and why I don't like Tennant. Oh, Jeff.
Oh, savage Jeff.
Jeff, not feeling it. Yeah, Joseph Howarth says, as much as I'm a fan of Tennant, I really feel like this whole finale was a letdown by its last part. Now, for the most part, I really liked. It had a brilliant build-up, a master at the time that I enjoyed, and then part 3 came along and ruined it. Joseph goes on to give it a 3 out of 10 for The Last of the Time Lords, a 9, though, for The Sound of Drums.
Okay, fair enough.
And lastly, Charlie Turner says, I consider the Series 3 finale to be a 3-parter myself, as I consider Utopia. That's fair enough. John Sim is my favourite modern master to date, in Series 3 at least. Finale can be a little bit cheesy. I guess that the only thing I don't really like is how the Doctor literally became Space Jesus near the end, while the Master was being defeated. Anyway, Charlie goes on to give it 9 out of 10 for each. 9 out of 10 for Utopia, 9 for Sound of Drums, and 8 for Last of the Time Lords.
Okay.
So a bit of disparity there. A lot of people liking the Sound of Drums and the build-up felt like they were let down by the ending. A little bit.
Yeah, understandable.
Yes. Okay, well, I think scores overall fairly positive. 8s and 9s, really good. Next week, dude, what we got?
Well, we can't put it off any longer. It's time to review the last episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures. I'm not looking forward to getting to the end of this because we've loved this series. So let's hope it goes out on a good one with The Man Who Never Was.
Oh, mate. It'll be a sad time next week. Yeah. So, anyway, The Man Who Never Was next week. We're going to get onto that and wrap up all of Sarah Jane. But for now, for this week, that's going to do it, dude, for 312.
Alrighty.
So this week, our attempts at trying to do a slightly shorter show have fallen flat on its arse, I'm afraid. It's just over 2 hours, this one, but meh, who cares? Hopefully we've kept you entertained for a couple of hours on Doctor Who, so that's all good. So for our two-parter, scores for this week, 8 from Adam, 8.5 from me, and then the rest of the guys. Thank you so much again for your reviews and stuff. Roughly the same score, 8s and a couple of 9s, which is very cool. As Adam said, The Man Who Never Was from Sarah Jane next week. Get your DVDs out and watched for that, because we'll be asking for your thoughts as always. In the meantime, remember that you can listen to all of our episodes for free on whatever podcast app you listen to your podcasts on. Just do a search for the Big Blue Box. You'll find us on there. And if you want to follow and subscribe, that'd be great. That way you won't miss a show when it lands. They go out every single Friday. You can listen to all of our shows for free on the website as well, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. And also on the website, all of the reviews and articles from our writing team. And we've got a couple of extra people joining the team within the next week or so. So there's going to be even more content coming, which is going to be good. We're on the socials too, Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links on the website, or do a search for us. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week. Come and get involved. And we have a free Discord server as well. So there's a link on the website. Sign up on that. Join the Discord. Come and chat Doctor Who. We chat about everything on there. Big Finish, Classic Who, Modern Who, the soundtracks, events and cons, the whole lot. Come and get involved over there. It's very cool. Also, check out my co-host channel over on YouTube. Once again, it is The Geek's Handbag.
Geek's Handbag, yes. Go and have a look at my vids. And I'm on all the socials. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, but not TikTok.
We don't TikTok around here, I'm afraid.
TikTok.
Maybe one day. Not at the minute.
I don't even know what it is. I don't think I want to know what it is.
Yes. It's actually, ironically, a good name for a Doctor Who specific social network. But there we go. So that's been 312. Thank you so much, as always, for listening. We will see you next week. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,